My name is Martin Walker. I'm the chair of the Green Task Force here at Jefferson Unitarian Church, our host. And this is an event with a new organization or subgroup that I created within the Justice Council here at JUC. The Justice Council subsumes all the social action groups, but they're basically all their own little device. Some work on housing, others work on legislative issues even, and the Food and Nourishment Task Force is among those. But what we didn't have until now was a group that can organize a progressive forum for speakers, for dialogue and argument, and one that is aimed to spark concrete action. Well, all these subgroups do that for their specific things, but if things come up like the crumbling of our democracy that require immediate action, it wasn't always easy to slot it into something relating to our social justice groups. So this is our first event. I'm really happy that it is so well attended. I want to hear some praise for the soup. Okay, because I made it. Anyway, I won't do too much more in terms of introductions, but I will tell you that Jefferson Unitarian is really on the ball with developments right now. We have, as a community, as a congregation, realized that we need to act now, not just talk, act. And we started something completely new. It's called Mobilizing Mondays. Every Monday, we have a different theme where JUCers, people from Jefferson Unitarian, can come together to do something concrete. So this Monday, it's phone banking for trans rights, creating scripts, call, email. It starts at 6 p.m. And the following week, we do something that Food and Nourishment Task Force is involved with. We have a number of cook groups. Some people are here, Roger and George and myself. Do I miss anybody? We cook meals for homeless shelter in Arvada. It's a day shelter, so we cook on Wednesdays and we serve on Thursdays. I mention this so specifically because that is one of those concrete actions that you can take. And maybe there are people in this room who have time on a Wednesday morning, 10 to 2 o'clock to prepare meals, or the other option to serve those meals on Thursdays between 11 and 1:30. So as I said, JUC is on the ball. These are dangerous times. I could say more, but I'll save it for now. The one thing I will do is I'll introduce Allison Phipps a little bit, and Robin.
Okay.
Although I don't know much about them, but what I do know is that emails from Arvadans for Progressive Action have graced my screen once in a while, and I've ignored them. And 2 weeks ago, I didn't ignore them, but went to one of their meetings, and I was mightily impressed. It was on healthcare, and it was so impressive, in fact, that the next event I'm planning under the Justice Matter series is inviting one of the 3 speakers they had at the time, Vince Markovchik, retired emergency physician, very high-ranking, respected fellow, to present on why U.S. healthcare is in such dire straits and how much real, not imagined, real fraud and abuse is happening in that sphere. So it also attaches to an action item because there are organizations who are dedicated to go with the one solution that has proven perfect, or at least a way forward all over the world, which is a universal health care system. And back to Arvadans for Progressive Action, you've witnessed a chaotic start, and we're 25 minutes in, and you still haven't heard the speakers. This would not happen with Allison's group. I was so impressed how well organized they were. They started on time. They had timekeepers with little paddles that said 1 minute, 5 minutes. And they also managed to get the technology right, so they were able to stream this in good, watchable quality for all those who cannot attend. And that is why I said, you're gonna be my poster woman, child organization for that first event. And Allison will have to introduce herself as she pleases. And I will switch off this one and go to the next, which is, oh no, that's yours.
That's mine.
Yeah, Robin's going to start.
You're going to start.
And
oh, very well.
I can explain why she's going to start, because if you want, of why Indivisible, it's more important to start with Indivisible, and then we'll go to APA. Because APA is a local group, but we are technically an indivisible group. And Indivisible is a nationwide group, but they support local groups. And so we are a local group under Indivisible, but I would really highly recommend you get involved with both, because Indivisible is going to have call to actions that are more state or nationwide call to actions, very important. And then APA, we're going to be focused more locally in what we can do in Arvada, Jeffco, and the state of Colorado. So Robin's going to start, and she's going to present on what Indivisible is doing, and then I will talk about how we are supported by Indivisible and what APA is doing.
So first, I just want to say thank you to all of you for inviting me here to speak. My name is Robin Kopernik, and I'm on the Indivisible Colorado leadership team. And I'll talk a little bit about what we do in a minute. But I just am so proud of the fact that this church has such an active social justice component. And I know you're even starting more now so that you can, address this democracy crisis that we're having. So I'm really, really happy to be here and speak to all of you. So thank you for inviting me to come. So let me move up here so I can, is it okay, Martin, if I'm right here? It is. Okay. All right, so first I want to start with what my group, Indivisible Colorado, does. We're a statewide organization, and we're really just kind of a central committee that coordinates communication with local Indivisible groups that are across the whole state of Colorado. And we have over 40 Indivisible local groups across the state. First, I'm going to talk about the national organization, Indivisible. And I just want to share with you a little bit about how the organization was started. After the 2016 election for Trump 1.0, I'm sure you all remember that was quite a shock. And so there were two folks, Ezra Levin and Leah Greenberg. They look so young. I mean, I feel old when I look at, at their picture. They were congressional aides working for Democratic Congress people at the time. And they were just shocked that this could happen. And so over the next week or so, they put together this spreadsheet that was really just designed to teach their friends how to copy the tactics of the Tea Party, because they had watched how effective the Tea Party had been under Obama. And they had this spreadsheet, just basically like how to call your member of Congress and ask for what you want and get your friends to make the same call. So they put it online as a Google document, and they hoped that their parents would see it, and a few of their friends, right? And then they woke up the next morning and they had like thousands, hundreds of thousands of hits. And so the more they realized this is a movement, this is real. There's a lot of people just like you guys who are seeing what's happening and who want to know what we can do about it. And so that's how Indivisible began. You may hear more about the organization on the Rachel Maddow show. She often talks about what the national organization is doing. We are not affiliated with a political party, but you can imagine which one we probably have, more in common with these days. And one of the QR codes on that piece of paper that I passed around will take you to the Indivisible guide. So we are now, because we're in Trump 2.0 now, we're on the second guide. And it's a little edgier than the first guide, because the first guide, we were in safer times. It was scary, but not like we are today. So the title of this one is A Guide to Democracy on the Brink. I encourage you guys to read it because it really does share how to be effective. I mean, we're all busy people, and I don't want to do something that makes no difference. I don't want to sit and write a letter to Elizabeth Warren for 3 hours that will never be read. So this will help you to kind of, it teaches you a little bit, if you've never done activism before, you've never done it on the federal level, it really does kind of show these are strategies that work. Okay, so now, thank you, Allison. Yeah, so now I'm going to talk about the group that I'm in, Indivisible Colorado, and we're really more of a coordinating team for all those local groups that have formed themselves across the state of Colorado. And there's probably about 15 of us that we do we call each other, we have a Zoom call a couple times a month, but the programming that we offer and that we support for the state of Colorado, we have monthly statewide calls. And I put, just as an example, our recent monthly statewide call broke all records for attendance of anything we have ever done before. I had to learn how to live stream and on YouTube, so I had to learn how to open up a YouTube channel because we had 5,000 people. It was a call that we were asked to host from Senator Hickenlooper and Phil Weiser, who is our state attorney general. And so the two of them were great at speaking together about what's happening and what they are doing about it and what we can do about it. So so I bring that up because there's really three main kind of programs that our Indivisible Colorado team does. One are those monthly statewide calls. And we don't have all the details yet, but if you sign up for our calls to action, you'll get it soon. Our next statewide call will be the first Wednesday in April. We're going to talk about keeping Christian nationalism out of our school boards in Colorado because it's kind of scary how they creep in. And we don't want that crazy stuff in Colorado. We see that at the national level. We don't want to have it start here. So that's the first thing we do. The second thing, every spring when the Colorado legislature is in session, we work with our membership across Colorado to pick what's important to you, what are your priorities, and then we pick a few bills that are going through the state legislature to sponsor and support, and we include how you can support those in our weekly calls to action. So we like to do that. And then I probably should have started with this one, the weekly calls to action. That's one of the QR links that that piece of paper that is going around. And this is one thing I'd really highly encourage you to do today. Just subscribe. You can always unsubscribe if you don't like them, but we put them together with an eye towards our state. So if there are statewide specific things, we want to make sure we include it in there. We also include things that at the federal level, national calls to action. They come once a week, get them in your email. You can do the whatever things you like. You certainly don't have to do them all. So that's Indivisible Colorado. And then another thing that we do, you can just kind of click through the little things, is we really encourage folks to do the thing that you guys are doing today. Is you're coming to a face-to-face event. And it sounds like you guys are going to come again. It sounds like this is a regular, it's going to be a regular, you're building a community locally. Because it's lonely if you live especially if you live like in a red town in eastern Colorado, and you may feel you're the only one that, sees this as a crazy takeover, right? So we really want to connect those folks to each other, and it's so important. I don't know how this is all going to work out, you guys, but we're still going to have each other, and that's super important. So that's the biggest thing, is you're here today face to face. And if this doesn't apply to you guys because you're already all here, but we always talk to our members or to people that contact us. We maintain a list of all these Indivisible Colorado groups across the state. And then I want to put a plug in for Arvadans for Progressive Action. You guys are going to learn a lot more about that in just a minute. And there are a couple of others. You can see there's a CO7 Indivisible and a new one that's starting that's called Indivisible Lakewood. We've had just a flood. Yeah, it's the congressional district, yeah. And so you can, it's a Facebook group mainly, but they are really starting to meet in person now, which is a good thing. Okay, moving on. How to get involved. So, click through. So these are the things I'm telling you. First of all, you guys hopefully have all had a chance to subscribe on your phone. And then the second QR link was to read that Democracy on the Brink, join a local group, or you guys are all very welcome to start your own group. And you don't have to make it fancy. If you want to have 3 or 4 friends that get together every Tuesday over a glass of wine just to vent about what has happened in the news, that counts. That counts, because every time you get together and you work together and then your anger turns into action, that's what's important. Okay, I really wanted to talk a lot about this because we live in Colorado. And if you want to impact what's happening in Washington, unless you go there, you're going to be on the phone, right? You're going to need the most impactful things that we all can do is to have regular conversations by calling our members of Congress, our MOCs. So Brittany Pedersen, she is my representative because I'm in CD7, right? Probably yours too. And then our 2 senators, Mike Bennett and John Hickenlooper. So we will routinely in our calls to action, we'll say, call your senators or call your representative with this request. So as I talk with people, I realize they're nervous to do that for a number of reasons. First, they may think that when they call, they're really going to get John Hickenlooper on the line. I promise you will never get John Hickenlooper on the line. If you're lucky, you're usually going to get voicemail. But if you're lucky, what you're going to get is an entry-level staff person whose job it is to sit at the phone all day long and answer constituents. And right now, that's all they're doing because Washington is just getting flooded with people because people are really angry about what's happening. So don't worry about having to have talk to your senator. The other thing that people feel like is that they have to really have a lot of information about this issue. They have to have done their research. And we, as people on the left, have this very good thing about us that we want to make sure we dive into the details and we know what we're talking about. I'm not sure that's universal, but we feel so strongly like that. And that's good. I'm not going to tell you not to be an informed citizen. But when you're calling your person, your member of Congress, you don't have to talk about, in fact, don't. So you're going to pick up the phone. You'll probably get voicemail, right? And you're going to say, hi, my name is Robin Kopernik. I'm a constituent, and here's my zip code. And then you're going to say whatever your message is. And the important thing is, they don't want to hear it if it's some general thing like, I'm really concerned about the state of democracy in our country. Thanks for calling, right? What is really even more impactful is if you can say, I know the budget is being discussed right now in the Senate, and here's how I feel about it. Vote yes or vote no on whatever it is. If I don't know what your feelings about this continuing resolution were, but That's what they needed to hear is yes or no. Because all that staff person is doing when they're not answering the phone, they're listening to that voicemail and they're just making tallies. So they're not, I know you guys are smart people and you have a lot of deep thoughts. They don't care because they're just going to make a little tally mark on the yes or the no. And the beauty of this is, though, it's easy for us to do, right? We don't have to have a long speech put together. And then what they do is, at the end of whatever their period of, work is, they will report, well, Senator Hickenlooper, I've had calls all day long. I took 500 calls and my buddy over here took, 400 and we tallied them all up and 80% of them are saying no, no on that continuing resolution. And 20% said yes, and that's what the senator is hearing. And I'm going to tell you that sometimes when you work at the federal level, it feels like you're banging your head against the wall. But this past week, when it was Monday or Tuesday, I don't know if you guys read the Washington Post, but Senator Hickenlooper said something that implied he was going to vote yes on the continuing resolution. And I read that, I thought, well, okay, so then our indivisible call to action was to call our senators and we encouraged them to vote no on that. Now, we're not the only group that's out there. I mean, there's all kinds of progressive groups out there and all kinds of email. But by the end of the week, both Senator Hickenlooper and Senator Bennett voted no. And I don't think that would have happened without calls from constituents. So it matters. So that's my spiel on calling your congressperson. And then just a couple of upcoming events.
Can I ask you, is it
Yeah.
as effective? I go on Facebook and I follow Bennett and Hicken and I make comments there.
That is more effective if your goal is, like if Senator Hickenlooper posts something and then he's got some trolls on there, and if you're able to go on and respectfully point out, why the trolls are wrong or, how maybe poke some holes in their arguments, then other people who may be reading those comments, it may plant a seed with them. It may, make them doubt the trolls. But if you really are looking to be impactful about how Congress is moving forward, you got to call Congress. And the thing is, you can, I know a lot of people just don't like to make phone calls because it is scary. I mean, you might talk to a real person and you might stumble over your words and, and I get it. But when you call, it's so real time. I mean, they're tallying your vote right now, right? And it could happen, it could pertain to something that's on the Senate floor right then.
So they're not tallying comments pro and cons on, say.
I don't think so. I mean, they do have limited bandwidth. I don't know. I've never worked for a senator's office.
I just talked to Brittany Pedersen about this because we had a meeting with her. She said, call first, then email, like their official form on their website. Letters, those are slower, but they do tally those letters. And Facebook and Twitter, they do not look at, they'll look at the comments, but they're not tallying those. And a lot of representatives, they're not looking at their Facebook page. It's managed by a team, and the team is just kind of maybe giving them a general vibe that's on the page, but they're not tallying them. But the calls they're tallying, the emails they're tallying, the letters they're tallying. So call first, email second, letter third. Sorry, go ahead.
That's good.
If you repost something from Bennett or Hickenlooper or Pedersen's.
That is more for like,
okay.
for like a truth, maybe you should talk about the Truth Brigade a little bit, but like informational, that is helping spread information, but not necessarily like impacting what the senator is going to do.
Yeah, I think there's it's so easy to spend 2 hours on Facebook, right? And now maybe some of you are now on Blue Sky. So that's like even more stuff you could do with your day. But if you really want to use your power, you need to talk. You need to get on the phone and call your member of Congress.
What if I call Schumer? but I have to say myself.
Oh, I'm so glad. No, I'm so glad you asked that, because that's another thing I wanted to say. Don't call Schumer. Don't call him, because he's not your representative. He doesn't care what you think.
Only call my own.
Only call your own. Yeah, because you're a busy woman, you know? And if you really want to just vent, that's okay too. But just know that if you spend, like I was talking with one of my friends who, she's writing to Bernie, she's writing to Elizabeth Warren. They're never going to read that because she lives in Colorado. And so, and they don't have the time to read your theory of world politics. You know, they just want, do you want yes or no? Because I just want to make sure that however I vote, I stay safe. I want to be reelected. And that's the whole driving force. So, you know, we believe still that our Republican members of Congress do still have a small concern. Maybe it's pretty small right now because they're scared to death of Trump. But they do still have to go in 2026 and face their constituents. So keep that pressure on them. And then, you know, our Democratic friends, they need to know that we have their backs.
How do they filter out people not just calling and take?
So I was told that they sometimes will write your name down. And I called Brittany's office one day and she called me back, you know, like 15 minutes later. It went to my voicemail. But so yes, they do take names. Let me just go through this. So there's, if you want to go see Bernie, and I understand AOC might be with him on the 21st down at the Capitol. April, I think it's a Friday.
4 o'clock.
April 5th, there's Indivisible, the national organization, is getting to, they are listening to their members who say, we want to go and have a national, we are so angry about this, we want to go to the streets. And so they're organizing something, details still TBD. April 2nd is that statewide call that I just talked about our school boards. And right now, starting today, March 15th through the 23rd, our congressional representatives, so the 3 that you just saw, are on recess. So you can bring a friend and go visit their office with 2 or 3 of your top concerns. It helps to make an appointment in advance. You're not going to visit with them directly, but you'll see a staffer. So we always encourage people, go talk to your members of Congress. So I need to let Allison take the stage here because I know you guys really want to hear about Arvadans for Progressive Action.
Okay, I don't have a really nice presentation. I have 2 of these things today. I'm so excited by the energy. So that is my positive, is that Arvadans for Progressive Action started in 2016 when Trump was first elected. It started in somebody's living room, and 50 people showed up, you know, and then the group formed from there. We are an indivisible group. It has continued since 2016. It ebbs and flows with how many people show up at our meetings, but since the November election, we have had probably 170 new people join. We're trying to figure out how to funnel everybody in, but I'm enthused by the enthusiasm, and I think that building community is a form of resistance. So coming together is important, and we are in a church right now, but there is a decline in religious organizations and people attending, and I think groups like this can kind of help fill that. We want people to make friends. We want you to know each other, people in your community that you can turn to, and so that is part of the goal of Arvadans for Progressive Action. So I just pull up the website to just kind of show you, we have a picnic, we do events. This one is a picture from us from Arvada Tap. It was a beer festival. We had a table there. We host events. We helped host the housing fair for the city of Arvada a couple years back. We go to the Capitol and we testify on bills together. We march together, you know. So I just wanted to show it's really a group, and there are social events and we help each other. And so it helps, because a lot of the things that Robin said, go meet with your senator. That feels really intimidating, right? But to do it with a group of people saying like, hey, I have this meeting and I booked this time. Does anybody else from this group want to come with me? It helps to have friends there with you. So that's really what Arvadans for Progressive Action can facilitate. We do have, and Martin wants me to talk about this, just how our meetings are structured so that you can kind of understand like why we've been a successful Indivisible group. We have action teams. So we have, and I'll just hover over this, we have anti-war, affordable housing, climate, education, healthcare, political action, and social connections. And then actually there's one more team, it's the communications team. I am the education team lead and the communications team lead. We have monthly meetings. Our meetings focus usually on one of these topics. So we'll have local speakers come, the meetings that we've had so far this year, the healthcare meeting that Martin went over, we had a doctor, a physician that's been in the industry gave a presentation that we'll be giving to you. We had another ER doc in a rural hospital talking about the challenges of rural hospitals. And then we had a medical student come and speak to us about how she is advocating for Medicare for all as a medical student and what it's like to be a student right now. And so it's kind of education based. We also had Arvada Rising Church come and talk about how they serve the homeless and how that's become really challenging in Arvada. We were advocating for a navigation center, but unfortunately NIMBY kind of got the best of it and the neighborhood really got loud at city council meetings and the navigation center has been put on hold. So like those are the kind of things that like APA is working towards, and we had a loud presence. It's just the anti-presence on that one was louder, but we're still working towards that. We still need a navigation center in North Jeffco, and Arvada has already committed to being that location, so we need to find a spot for that. So we had people come talk about that. We've had people come talk about the Climate Advisory Committee for the city of Arvada and their plans. They have a plan that they're hoping the city will adopt, and they presented their plan to us. So those are the type of meetings we have. You're welcome to come. They're mostly informational, and then they provide people a way to connect. Yeah?
Where are the meetings held?
Oh, yeah. They are held. We use First United Church of Arvada. They will be on our website. So actually, Robin, did you pass out the cards?
I passed out the cards.
Oh, yeah, great. So that has our website on it, which is arvadansforprogressiveaction.org. You go to our website, you'll see all this information. We do post all of our events here. I haven't posted our event yet, but we have an event on April 6th, which will be a tabling event for all of those action teams that I just mentioned. So we'll have a table for education, we'll have a table for healthcare. Our team leads will be sitting there, and you can come in and kind of talk to each team lead and be like, I'm really interested in Medicare for all. How do I get involved with your team? So that's going to be our April 6th meeting. It's not on here yet, but it will be by the time you get home tonight, sometime today. So yeah.
I mean, all these, groups are very important, but I'm here because I believe the Trump administration knows that they're doing things that are going to impact the midterm elections, that they have a plan to try to overthrow the elections again. And so what I'm worried about is we won't have free and fair elections in 20 months. And is Indivisible doing anything on a bigger picture to figure out what their plan is and to try to, because I went and listened to Hickenlooper on Wednesday, and he just gave all the normal things.
Yeah.
We got to go beyond normal right now.
Yeah.
We're going to stop their plan to overthrow the elections in 20 months. So I'm looking for ideas and ways to go, fight against the Trump administration and their mechanisms they have is in that within that political group or within the Colorado. I mean, again, I want to go big. I go after. I've been standing up for my causes, and this is now no longer about my cause. It's about I want free elections in 20 months, and that's why I've suddenly started taking action and bringing a group together in my house. But looking still for ideas.
Yeah.
What is the best way to bring national resources together to go after districts, not our district, but districts where there are, there's swing districts, and we need to let those Republicans know right now we want Congress to stand up for the Constitution, and if not, we're going to take the Republican playbook and we're going to go into those districts and use the money we have nationally to go after them if they don't start standing up for the Constitution. I mean, Trump's obviously pushing them and bullying them in one direction. How do we get to those people who can make a difference now?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
So APA, and I won't say like I absolutely hear you and I share your frustration. And APA, we're focused on a local group. Our political action team, like we are having a postcarding event today. I have some, we have some ideas on how we can respond nationally. We absolutely take indivisible calls to action and we share those on our Facebook page. And we do focus on national politics as well. Our political action team, we postcarded this past election to like swing states like Nevada and Arizona. So we weren't just focused locally. However, that's kind of what our group is set up to do. Robin, like Indivisible, which is why I invited Robin here, because I figured a lot of people have those questions right now. Like, well, it's great that we're hearing about Arvada City Council, but like, we're in a constitutional crisis right now. And I feel you, and I do. So, and I know that there was an Indivisible protest at Gabe Evans because he was refusing to do town halls, and a lot of people from APA showed up to that. So maybe you want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody in this room shares that concern, and we have so many concerns, and that could be towards the top, right? So a couple thoughts come to my mind. One, in our country, elections are mostly still run at the state level. We are so lucky in Colorado that we've got Jenna Griswold, who has done everything she can to shore up safe elections in Colorado. I don't know how to do that in Arkansas or Florida or Texas. The larger Indivisible national organization does have like a civics, like I get confused with the 401c3 versus the C4, but it's more of their civics project where they really look at protecting democracy itself. And I've seen them talk a little bit about how they're watching that space, protecting elections and keeping them. I mean, I know we have voter suppression and that's bad enough, but what would really be bad is if Congress were to pass that SAVE Act, right? That would require, like, my married name is different than my name on, my birth certificate. And so, do I get to vote? So I share your concern. Indivisible's watching it. I'm sure you're aware of other organizations, like I've seen email from the Brennan Center. Also, the attorney generals are going to be active in that spot. A lot of this it's a little different than the first Trump 1.0 because a lot of these fights are happening in the courts because right now he's just out there breaking the law, right? I mean, in 1.0, he tried and people told him he wasn't allowed to, so he didn't do it. Now he's just doing it until he's, starting to get stopped. So I don't have the answer for you. I would say Indivisible is watching that space and keep asking the question and finding out, are there things we can do as citizens to protect not only elections in Colorado, because, that's where we live, but it affects us if Texas and Florida, have horrible voter suppression laws, right? So that's all I don't have any other great ideas for you.
Does Indivisible have an indivisible.org national website?
Yes, we do. So go there. It's got a ton of resources.
What about like ties with the Democratic Party and fundraising? Like I saw last week, the Trump campaign has set a new, normally you don't have a president even campaigning. It's raising money, but there raised $500 million to go out and, to bully in areas.
Yeah.
So we need a national counter fundraising effort to start advertising, to start pressuring.
Yeah.
And does Indivisible have connections with the Democratic Party and the National Party, and right now I'm not hearing that they're raising money to counter this. I just hear silence, or we'll wait until they implode, and I'm not willing to wait and see if they implode. I'm not willing to take that chance and not have a democracy.
Yeah.
I'll sit back and wait.
Yeah. No, I think those are all good ideas. I don't know. I haven't heard Indivisible starting a fund to, to go up against Elon and protect people from being primaried. I don't know that. Sorry.
I'm getting emails from different Democratic organizations, the Democratic Government Association, the Democratic Secretary of State, Democratic House Majority, all these different organizations. And do you have an idea of which ones are actually going to be effective and which ones that we should support?
I have concerns about a lot of those groups not being real groups. So I'd be very careful where you put your money. Like I get emails or texts from a lot of those groups too, where it's like Democrats for Social Security, blah, blah, blah. I would donate to the DNC and go to the DNC website. There's a lot of phishing out there. It's happening on the other side too, where you get that text and it's like, Trump is livid, donate now. Do not go through those texts and donate. I would go to like real candidates' websites, go to the DNC or groups that you know and trust. Because I would be very cautious about Democratic Majority Pact 101. Like it just, I would be very careful. And I think they target people, they're targeting our emotions right now. So they're phishing us with like, have you heard this and donate now. So, I know and trust Indivisible. I know they're doing good work. Donating to Indivisible goes to good places. I know a lot of people are really pissed off at the DNC right now because there is no, after yesterday, it feels like the opposition is not there. What tools do we have? And so I know you said don't call Schumer. I would disagree. Just for party leadership, like don't call Elizabeth Warner. Don't call Bernie Sanders, but call Mike Johnson. He's the House leader. I would call Hakeem Jeffries. I would call Schumer. And I guess, who's the Senate majority?
Thane.
I don't even know. Call him and tell him you're pissed. But they need to hear from us. And I would call Bennett and Hickenlooper and thank them for running now.
Yes.
And so that they hear from their constituents, like, this is what we wanted you to do. We want all of them to do. So I don't think you can call like Fetterman from Pennsylvania, but you can call Schumer and say you are leadership and we expect better leadership.
Allison, it's a little sneaky, but when you call, give a New York zip code.
Sure.
Pennsylvania zip code. They're not going to check voter rolls. They don't have time. I'm your constituent. I was calling John Thune. I was calling a whole bunch of people with a Southern accent.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much should decorum and politeness play a role? Because we're dealing with state terrorism today. State terrorism.
That's true. And you're also talking to an intern. So when I call, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but when I call, I think it's important to use a sense of urgency. I mean, I feel really strongly, I am deeply concerned about this. And here's what I respectfully ask Senator Hickenlooper to do. Thank you. That's kind of the tone I use.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah.
So I apologize if I didn't hear all of what the gentleman was saying about the elections, but I'm concerned also about the special elections because those are now. And so how do we influence those?
There are lots of groups, and I mean, my group isn't necessarily set up for it. However, there is a postcarding event that happened this morning, and so we do get together and postcard. So if you are interested in political action and like taking a political action in another district or state, we did postcarding events for like on the fence Nevada voters, that sort of thing. There's groups called like Vote Forward or Blue Wave. Vote Forward. You can sign up, download their template letter. You write your little message in there, and then you fold it up So you can do that on your own. But APA would be a great way to be like, let's have a postcarding party and like we can all hang out and have a social event and have some community and write all these, write 200 letters together. I think our postcarding group sent out like 2,000 postcards this past fall. So like
I guess my concern though there is not necessarily influencing voters, but it's somehow those elections rigged, you know?
Oh.
I think it's important
What do we
to
do
like,
to look into that? And who would look into that? How do we get that taken care of? Because if those special elections
I
go
mean,
the other way, I mean,
they
you know,
might
all we're doing
be,
is waiting
but
for the next election.
they might be. But I'm not sure what we can do about that. I mean, and I don't know any evidence that says that they are. So,
It's just feels to me that Trump isn't concerned about vacating all these seats because he knows how the election's going to go. So that just
Yeah.
makes me think that there's something, you know, illegal there.
It sounds like it should
on
listen.
this side also. Would you mind moderating the Q&A?
but me?
Robin? Yeah.
Oh, okay, sure. Absolutely. Okay, go ahead.
Just back to organizations and dollars to support, I'm looking a lot at the lawyer organizations and who's filing suits. So for example, Democracy Forward is kicking ass in the courts and could use support. So sometimes when there's lawsuits that are of interesting topics to me, I look at who's filing. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna support them. I'm gonna go to their website and learn more.
Because someone's already taken it.
Yeah.
Democracy Board is kicking ass, and they're also supporting and very tied in with Civil Strong, which is an organization that's defending our federal employees. Civil Strong in the courts.
And ACLU would be another one. And then there's a Natural Defense Council, NDC, yeah. And so they're another group of lawyers that defend for climate injustice, that sort of thing. That's a great idea. Supporting these groups that are filing these lawsuits. They need the money to be able to take them through the courts.
It's true.
And that is Trump's favorite way of bullying people is through the courts. So that's a good place to put your money for sure.
So are we moving into the Tea Party strategic plan now? And what is that?
So the Tea Party was effective because a lot of them attend churches and they get together on a regular structured basis. And their leaders and their community believed in a certain, direction they wanted to take the country. And they got organized and they all made the same calls to action on the same day. So that's what Leah and Ezra were saying they were experiencing as congressional aides on the other side. They were working for a Democratic representative, right? But one day they go into the office and they get 1,000 calls from Colorado that are all saying, don't you dare pass that reproductive rights bill or whatever it was. And when a congressman gets 1,000 calls in one day about the same thing, it gives them pause. So that's really the meat of what the Tea Party strategy was built on. They got organized and their members called Congress. So that's why I gave the little spiel about how important it is to call and here's what's going to happen when you do, because that's the most effective way to directly influence. And if you have a certain issue you want to call your congressperson on, absolutely. But if you and 990 other people have that same issue, it's even more effective, right?
Do you think there's a way that we can infiltrate the rights media bubble, like making more appearances on Vox or Truth Social? Or...
I think that there's a huge conversation about how can progressives and left-leaning, I've heard two things. I've heard, how can we make our message better? But I've also heard, great message. How do we get it? How do we take it to the people? How do we get on the Joe Rogan show, right? And you can listen to a number of podcasts that will talk all about that. Personally, me, Robin Kopernik, I don't have any influence on where social, where that conversation happens. But it is a topic that I've heard in the news.
So 2 things that I wanted to expand upon that. So Indivisible has a group called Truth Brigade that I wanted to talk about. So when I first got introduced with Indivisible, it was through Truth Brigade, and it's a sort of anti-social media or a response in social media to misinformation. So they have specific calls to action and messages, here's a preset thing that you can post on your Facebook page, that sort of thing. So that's a way to combat misinformation, is getting involved with the Truth Brigade. And I feel like they have a website too, right?
They must, yeah.
And then what I would like to do locally, because we're taking a global or national lens, and we're trying to figure out what I can do. And something that I wanted to, a quote that I've been living by lately, because I think this all can feel really overwhelming, is I'm only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. I will not let what I can't do get in the way of what I can do. So, okay, sorry. I just wanted to say that slowly because I can't impact or have control over the Florida election. I want to. I can donate. I can donate to a lawyer group or a justice group that's fighting. I can spread messages on social media. So that is something I can do. But, I don't know what else I can do besides that. But that won't stop me from doing the things that I can do, right? So one thing I'd like to do locally, because I see a lot of people are leaving Facebook, leaving X, and I don't blame them. However, I'm staying on Facebook. It's a useful tool, and I'm sharing information to my network because I think it's important. I am posting on Nextdoor. I'm posting good things, positive things that are happening in the neighborhood. I'm going on Arvada Moms, which is not a political group, and I'm thanking the librarians for being wonderful librarians and giving my kids books to read. And it's just a message that, we don't always have to be really combative. We can just thank people and be like, we have a local library. Guess what? It's free. Thank you so much to the local librarians. And I get on Arvada Moms and I post that. And so what I would like to see, and as a new group for APA, our communications team, is to have a local communications effort of positivity and or things that are negatively impacting Coloradans. I can't impact what's happening in Florida. However, another idea for APA, and I would love to get people involved and come to our next meeting and we can brainstorm this together, is Blue Dot Red State, be a reach out group, because I've had a lot of groups reaching out to APA and saying, how have you become a successful group? How have you maintained your membership? How do you keep doing this? And we try to encourage them, give them notes about how we're running our meetings, how we have action team groups, and get them to start their own groups. Colorado Springs just started their first Indivisible group. They had 500 people at their first meeting. Yeah, so they have a lot of energy, and they contacted me and they're like, we love the APA website. Can you do that for me? And so I volunteered my time. I gave them a website. So there are things we can do for other areas that are not ours. And so, if you know somebody in Iowa that might want to get involved, start an Indivisible group, you can, kind of nurture that a little bit with your friends. And, one thing that I haven't done yet, but it's something that's been on my mind, is reaching out to my friends on Facebook that live in Minnesota, that live in Iowa, that live in North Dakota, and be like, have you had coffee with a friend that agrees with you? And have you guys thought about showing up at city council or calling your senator together, that sort of thing? So we can encourage these groups in other areas too. And that is something we can do.
And I came up here because I think it fits a lot of what we need to learn as citizens are how to run those logistics, be strategic about the channels that we have at our disposal and actually use them. And I would also mention that this might be a way to drag younger people away from their devices or put them back on their devices to work for us, because they, unlike myself, are not Luddites and they know how to run these things. It's more intuitive for them. So it would be an opportunity to engage them to run the logistics, because we're missing a lot of stuff. And one of the reasons why the Tea Party AstroTurf became a real turf organization is because the Koch brothers pumped millions and millions of dollars into infrastructure, into hiring organizers, into renting buses to drive people to events, into paying for space at churches to hold those meetings. And that is still missing. So actually, my feeble hope is that perhaps somebody in the philanthropy space will finally pool monies and say, we are going to manipulate the shit out of things. Just like they did.
Call Mark Cuban, call Sheryl Crow, and tell them that they need to start donating. Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Well, I'll leave you to it.
Where'd you get your T-shirt?
I don't know. I have a whole stack full of things. It reminds me about the channels we have at our disposal is do propaganda.
Right.
Wearing progressive shirts is propaganda. And if you ask people who grew up in dictatorships or so, there was a thing called guerrilla marketing.
Guerrilla
Marketing, where people would start a conversation about what was wrong in this messed up state on the bus, and they started the conversation, got off at the next stop, and got back on and talked to somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, never underestimate what you can kick
Planting seeds.
Yeah.
Planting seeds, using stuff like Nextdoor that doesn't cost anything in a systematic way. And on that note, that's also something I wanted to mention. Tomorrow afternoon, we have an organizers training organized by, what's it called? Together Colorado. I'm not sure they still have open spaces, but I'll find out. It's in the afternoon at 1:30, and 2 weeks ago, over 30 people from JUC actually joined a previous training, and I think they had 90 people there. So we are about to have some impact, but it better be quick.
Yeah.
Is that going to be here?
It's not going to be.
Tomorrow's at Montview Presbyterian in Denver.
Oh, yeah. It's the same thing that we did last week. It's
Yeah.
the same thing we did last week.
And I think that's I think we're done at 2, so I want to kind of start wrapping up. But I think that might be a good way to end this meeting. I have another meeting later today, which is full. I think maybe if anyone's really interested, we have 1 or 2 seats left. But we are going to be talking about guerrilla marketing or protest, nonviolent protest locally. So what can we do? And so part of it is going to be a brainstorm. So today, I'm wearing my shirt. It's a beautiful day to smash the patriarchy. People do comment on the shirt sometimes. I love that. It means people are reading it, thinking about what is the patriarchy? Why do we still have it? So, and my water bottle's covered. I bring that to work. My favorite one is "When There Are 9." That's a Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote of when will there be enough justices on the Supreme Court that are women? When there are 9. And so just things like that are really great ways to kind of spread your message. I know I brought some stickers too. What I like to do, like ideas of guerrilla marketing, is when I go to DIA and I take a flight, I stick it on the back of the women's bathroom. So when somebody is peeing, they get to see my sticker. Today is March 15th. There is a call to action right now today to write to Trump, to write to the White House and tell him what you think, what he's doing. I have some Sierra Club and National Park postcards. If you'd like to take one, just write that I think you're doing a terrible job and I hate you, and put it in the mail. I'm serious. That's what, at the end of mine, I said, you're destroying public lands. I hate you. Signed America. And that's what the note I wrote him today. I know it's not much, but like these are things that as a group we can feel powerful. And then I also have stickers. It's like a little him looking at the solar eclipse pointing, and it says, I did that. They're to put on like the price of eggs. Or like, you know, you just put them, you stick them on things that are terrible, that are happening in our community. So feel free to take a few of those stickers too. But do you have an idea, a guerrilla tactic, like something that we can do?
I ride a trike, and I'm actually going to make a sign to go in the back of my trike. I can't walk very far. I got a spinal injury on it, so my trike's outside and back. So I'm going to put a sign on it. But I did have a question before you started to wrap up. I was trying to call them. And that is the leadership. I don't know if you heard Bennett, what he said. I mean, I really applauded, and I'm going to call and leave a message. Thank you. About criticizing Democrats for not having any idea about what they're going to do, not being organized. And then at the same time, I've run into young people like getting gas. I'm talking about students at mines or wherever that are really concerned, and they love what Bernie's doing, and they love Bernie. And he's talked about, you know, Democrats put a stethoscope up. This is how people feel. I'm curious, who do you call? How do you affect this in any way to get, you know, the leadership changed? I know you can't.
No, that's a really good, you know, as far as like, who do you call? Well, you call the DNC. They have a new president, and he has a different strategy, which I'm hopeful is going to be a better strategy, because he is focused on all races, and he's going to be focusing on running blue candidates in red districts, because there's a lot of districts where they don't run anybody at all. So there's nobody there. The Republicans are unopposed because they assume it's a red district. I think that's a failure of the Democratic Party. He has a different strategy. I would call the DNC and thank him for that strategy. To talk to your point about Bernie Sanders and why his message is resonating, I had a call with Brittany Pedersen's team yesterday, and this is another group that's formed post-election, a women's moms group that I got involved with. We just meet. We met once here. I think we're actually meeting here again in one of your rooms back there. Natalia, who's she's been involved, and so she's great. And so, but we've met, and we just kind of, it's a therapy session. We drink wine and we discuss. But then we're like, okay, so what are we going to do with this new group, this new energy? What are we going to do? We set up a meeting with Brittany Pedersen's staff. We told personal stories of how we're being impacted. People have lost their jobs. Kids are being misidentified. Trans kids are being misidentified. People are scared. I'm scared about education, particularly because my kids are in public schools. And then we specifically said that to her. There is a reason that Bernie Sanders' message is resonating, and he is attracting thousands of people. It is because it is not black versus white. It is not documented versus legal immigrants or like native-born citizens. It is working class, middle class, us versus the ultra wealthy and the billionaires. And that is a message that everybody can get behind. And that has been Bernie's core message from the very beginning. And that is why people forever, that is his message. And I told Brittany Pedersen, staffer, because I wasn't talking to her, that is the message that I want the Democratic Party to move forward with. And so, you know, her staffer heard me. I'm like, he's got a rally. People are going to show up. Like, Brittany needs this message. This is the message that she needs to be taking to the street. So we'll see if they hear. But I think that is a valid thing to bring up to them. Like,
so is that something that if I call and speak to the Democratic chair in the Democratic Party, I'd say, you need to combine your energy for Bernie and give him some respect. You know,
Yeah.
they've been very disrespectful of Bernie.
Sure.
over the years, I feel.
They kind of wrote him off as like kind of crazy, but he doesn't feel so crazy anymore. Yeah.
So that's the person I would send that message to. I mean, I know Senator Bennett would. I mean, he's a very reasonable, thoughtful person.
Yeah.
And I think he's doing a good job, and I'm very proud of what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Should we take one more and then
Yeah.
just to be respectful of everybody's time?
Yeah. Yeah, let's take one more question and then maybe we can, I mean, I'm welcome to stay and like talk and hang out for a little while too. So, or two more. Let's get you in the back at first.
Yeah, so two things. On Thursday, there's protest at the Capitol because Polis and whoever are the high-ranking members are deciding about cutting funding for schools. And so, at least in my school district, enough teachers took off for that day. They had to cancel school because there weren't enough subs to cover. So teachers and educators are really concerned. So on Thursday, if you want more information, I'll let you know. And then my thing that gets me sad and pissed off is about ICE and immigration. And so what do you have suggestions on how to do something about that?
I actually brought the
talk
red
about
cards. Yeah, so, and that's a new group, and I didn't go over it because it's a brand new action team, but we had an APA member who felt very passionately about what was happening to the immigrants. I feel like we all do. And so she started our immigrant action team, and Robin just grabbed that. So it's not on the website yet, but we do have an immigrant action team. What they're working on right now is passing out red cards to immigrants to know their rights. So these are red cards. They're kind of expensive, so if you want to take like one or two.
We actually made our own.
Oh, you have your own.
And we'll
Great.
continue to do so.
And so what to do with these red cards, like who to give them to. For one, I have a cleaning lady that's been with my family forever, and I've never asked her if she was documented or undocumented. I didn't know, and it didn't matter. But I had the uncomfortable conversation with her, not like, are you documented? It was like, hey, do you know anybody that might need to know their rights now and that might feel uncomfortable? I have this information sheet. It's in Spanish and English. You can take it and you can give it to whoever you want. And we had like the sweetest moment together ever where we cried together. Mm-hmm. She is documented. I don't want to like call like anybody out as undocumented, but she knows people that are not documented, and she's scared and they're terrified. And so it was a great moment to just be like, now you know I'm a safe person. You come into my house once a month. I'm a safe person. You can ask me for help. So yeah, it was oh, this is a weird conversation to have. And it was, but it was a beautiful moment also. And then one of our, so Pat, our immigration team lead, she's been handing these out. She's been going to apartment complexes and knocking on people's doors and handing them to them, which is.
Allison, Joe Newton told us not to do that anymore. People don't knock on people's doors.
Okay.
They get very scared.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just outside Home Depot, asked.
And gave them cards there. Yeah. Okay. Scratch that. They maybe were doing that for a while, but didn't. And then I know they've been going to local businesses too, and then leaving cards there so that if they have employees or somebody that they know that want to bring home. So, it's reaching out to your neighbors. That's what so the red cards are really helpful to just keep like one or two in your wallet in case there's a situation where somebody might need to know. And it just gives them the information of they don't have to open their door. They can ask for a warrant. They need to ask for the name of the officer, and they can remain silent. They have rights in this country. So, it's something. And I know the education team at Arvada we went to the school board meetings multiple times. We had a letter writing campaign to get the schools to just declare that the schools were a safe place and have a protocol for if ICE shows up, what do they do? And so now they have that protocol. It is supposed to be posted in every single school. So like community pressure has created response. So, you know, they're not responding as forcefully as Denver is, but they are responding. Our school district is responding to pressure. So we have an action team set up for that too, if you're interested in immigration. And it sounds like there's an action team here, so you can get involved with that too. So yeah, let's have this be the last one, and then.
I just want to applaud and reinforce your encouragement of sending positive messages out about like the library, because they so distressed about public health with COVID, and now we've got, you know, vaccine rates that are dropping, and that was an erosion of our democracy right there. Now they're trying to, so distressed about federal workers, like they're slaughtered, they're not doing jail, they're having 2 or 3 jobs, just calling it in. It's just so unfair. We really need to reinforce, you know, our National Park Service and our librarians.
Yeah,
I got it, but there are bumper stickers about, because I have one on my car about supporting your local librarian.
Yeah.
So, you know, I just need more stickers. I gotta get them.
Yeah, you need more stickers. Come take some of mine and come take a postcard. You have the cards, but if you want to like sign up for the APA newsletter, you can sign up and join any of the action teams. So you can go to our website. I'll just go to our contact us page. The card that you have will take you to this website, and you can fill out the contact form, and there you can express interest in any of our action teams, and we'll assign you to that action team. And yeah, I really want to like stress that this is a form of resistance, and getting together is a form of resistance. Meet someone new in your community so that you know where to turn to. I recognize a few people here because I helped do the school board candidate forum with you guys. And so like, it's kind of cool to see familiar faces. Like I haven't seen you for a very long time, but you know, so it's important to build a community. That is a form of resistance. And I'll just leave this note as well. Find joy. It is important to not get overwhelmed and still find joy in your life. I take a Friday dance class. Robin and I were going to talk during that dance class, and I was like, hey, can we push this forward so I can go to my radical dance class? And it's not it's my radical joy that I need to dance to like hip hop bangers, like with a group of women every Friday morning. And it just makes me happy. It's a time where I don't have to think about this and I can just move and feel happy. So turn on music, dance in your kitchen, go for a hike, read a book, drink a beautiful cup of tea alone, or whatever it is that you need to do, but then build community and get back out there. So that's all. I think that's a good place to leave it.
I can't say it better than that. Thank you, Allison. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you.